Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond, a show about reviewing horror movies for the living to understand the dead. And I'm your host, Ivotres Littles, and I'm here with three amazing guests today: writer Joshua Hall, producers Jason Scott Goldberg and Christian Armogida, to talk about their Shudder original movie, Glorious. How are you guys doing?
All is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk about this film because, as you know, I was there probably you all were there during the screening, and I was sitting there really taking analysis of it, just really sucking it in. And I was just like, the dialogue just, that's so important, especially the way it was just like two people here and there, some other stars as well, but it was focused on two people in a room, so you really had to capture the audience. There was like hardly any breaks between. It was just really, even when there was a moment of silence briefly, the visuals just took over. It kept your mind wandering, kept you busy. You kept thinking, what? Oh, the hole there? Like, what he got to do? it had your mind go all over the place. And when it broke it down, I was just like, wow, I would have never thought. It caught me off guard.
Smartest glory hole movie coming out in 20.
It definitely was. It, like I said, it took me completely off guard. I don't know. Like, okay, so we're gonna talk about it because I could just make it amazing. It is amazing. So we're gonna talk about this.
Keep doing this. This is awesome.
Keep pumping it up.
Yeah, let's go.
But it really was really good. You could tell there's love that was put in there, the dialogue, the colors. Too bad Rebecca's not here, but even the casting for that, you could tell it was really taking consideration of their talents. Like J.K. Simmons' voice, like there was one point I was listening to him and I was like, he sounds really good. like not just because as an actor, I was like, I've never paid attention. Oh, he commands the screen every time. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of his films. Mm-hmm. I think Whiplash kind of scared me, but amazing. But just to hear his voice, and when he was gas and being angry, and then being very considerate of the feelings, and then trying to explain his name, he had so many levels in his voice. But I mean, it was like he was standing there, but you didn't see him.
Oh, totally. I'll say from the get-go, when we brought this up and we watched Rebecca,
from the get-go,
there you go. We're going to meet you. No more about it. But when we first brought it in, and the most important thing to us was to have a voice that was going to be warm, welcoming, and not be someone that just, it felt like they were going to bite your head off the moment you entered that bathroom. And so it really became like, who are we going to use? And it was tough because it's like, you throw out, you're like, do we go, when it was originally in its first incantation, when Josh took over all those years back, it's like, this is a small movie. Do we go with a Tony Todd? Do we go with like this type of voice? And as the project started growing and getting more of these attachments, it took a life of its own. And so it really became an important thing for Rebecca to make sure that if anybody goes to the bathroom, this is just like something that everyone could like relate to. If you go inside and like, it's even like the Seinfeld episode, the Square Despair. If someone's going to talk to you through a bathroom door, you want it to be someone like kind of a kind voice. If all of a sudden it's someone who's angry and they've got like a growl to them, you don't want to be there. You already are in for a bad time. So we wanted to make that bathroom as welcoming as possible, and to have the character, the voice actor, be as welcoming with the tenacious growl when we did it. And so it was crazy to get JK because he just came off from doing Palm Springs. and he wanted to do weird. And it just so helped that Rebecca had a DP that she worked with who was working with him on Goliath, and he got the script and he was on board. When it all started, it all was gestated from the script that Josh wrote before Rebecca's husband David got his hands on it too. And so from that whole script, it was a very similar story. It had the cosmic elements to it, but the end itself was different. But it was still a man trapped in the bathroom with a glory hole demon. And so we knew that to make something that would be palatable, it needed to be something the voice needed to be warm, it needed to be likable, it needed to be a reason why we'd stay in there, given Wes's current condition.
Yeah.
It was really important for us.
Exactly. So let's start with the writing process. Joshua, I believe 2 other people were on this project with you for writing.
Well, it started from a concept of Todd Rigney, who him and I were working on a different project together. We just couldn't get off the ground just because of size. And so I had asked him, do you have something else that's smaller that we could possibly do in the meantime? And he said, I actually do have something smaller. It's called Old Glory. And he goes, it's about a Lovecraftian glory hole. And I sort of did the double take, like, what did you just say? And I said, do tell me more about this Lovecraftian glory hole of yours, Todd. And he did. And so we said, wow, that's super small. This is 2017. So we're trying to, do this story for a few years, trying to get it off the ground. We couldn't get it off the ground, but and it was Todd sort of just letting me take this thing and go wherever I wanted to go with it. And then once the pandemic happened, that's when Jay got the script, and then Rebecca came on like 2 days after Jay got the script for the first time. So it was, and then Chris came on at the same time. So it was a super, and then that's when it became clear that this story was going to not just be the small tiny thing that I was going to do with it. This team that came on board was going to give it a life that it was never going to have in my hands. And so with that became, if we're going to promise, as Rebecca will say this, and she said it many times, but if you're going to promise a cosmic glory hole movie, in a bathroom, then you better have the cosmic glory hole movie in the bathroom. And that's what, the team and her and Dave brought on to what was already there, but it became such a bigger, more horrific, and more, just technically and story. Just a smarter movie than it was ever going to be in my hands. And so it was really, Todd at the concept level, me, the first, is the first iteration of the script, and then Dave came on and he, put his touches on there, and that's sort of how that process went.
Okay.
Which ended perfect.
But why the glory hole? Like, why?
Why?
No, I'm serious. Like, if you're sitting there and just like, I want to make a movie, and you just scribbling on some pieces of paper and just like a glory hole. Like where did that part just pop in at?
Why a glory hole is because it makes for a compelling story. It makes for a story that makes you ask what the fuck over and over again. And it gives 2 people, your cast, ample opportunities to not only act their asses off, but just act off each other, in those performances. And it's just, it to me, why not glory hole? That's the, why not glory hole in a bathroom?
Okay.
When you pitched to me, I was just like, this is just something that I want to read because I haven't seen anything done like that before. Like, I've seen movies, I've seen bathroom movies, there's plenty of, other content that takes place in bathrooms. But to do a cosmic glory hole movie, like, I remember, Chris, when I pitched it to you, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
What really kind of came to my mind was, here's an opportunity to do something like just wildly different than anything else that I've really, heard of or experienced before. And, I think the world of horror is a really great place to experiment with, these really, really contained places, like Adam Green's Frozen is an example. You can put people in really isolated, or ATM, that thriller from a number of years ago as well. That's what really kind of jumped out at me when Jay sent the script over to Becca, and then Becca sent it over to me. I mean, I hope I'm answering the question. I always describe the glory hole was the hook. That's the thing that leads you in. It's like, wait, what? I've got to know what's going to happen with this now.
Yeah.
So when Jay told me what it was, he said haunted glory hole movie. We're like, go on.
It's hard. The glory hole movie, you get an idea of what that movie's going to be. You think it's going to be like, super low budget and philosophical. And even in the original incantation of, Josh's script, it was so charming. I'm like, this is a movie that I need to make this because it's such a cool concept. Because whenever you think of glory holes, you think of, okay, sexual perversion and all that stuff. But then you take the aspect of what would be going through your mind if you think it's Armageddon, it's the end of the world, and you're trapped in this bathroom. And the person who has your life on the line is in the stall next to you. And it's a demon. We went cosmic with it, and we went with Josh Miller and his VFX team. They made the movie something that I couldn't even comprehend because they are so freaking talented. I always come from the world where it's like you surround yourself with smarter, better people. And this movie, for me, was one of those instances because the talent in all levels went from the acting, from just the art department, the set design, just the creative when we came up with problems and how we would go around with AMP and with fallback plan, and Rebecca just always being so quick about how can we fix this and how can we be effective. Because the hardest thing to do is to make a movie with two people, technically one person in a bathroom, talking to a wall for 90 minutes. How can we keep everyone's attention? How can we go crazier and crazier, but also how can we show an audience something they've never seen before? And
I think people have not seen this before. So if people haven't figured it out what this movie's about, it's about a guy named Wes.
It's a buddy comedy.
Yeah, pretty much. Kind of. About a guy named Wes who's having some mental conflicts. It feels like he was just drinking a lot, decides to go in the bathroom and just like barf his lungs out, and somebody in the stall or something is saying, hey, let's make a conversation, and the fate of the world depends on this. And then it just plays out. And like I said, the dialogue is just captures you. There was something that was being said that I noticed a few times throughout the film, and it was because I wrote him down here, and it said, you said I was different. And then he said, I can't stop. Now, those are very, very important parts of the dialogue because it still leaves you with no way of knowing what the hell is going on. But there was something I caught on. I don't know if it was intentional, but I noticed this. So as he's driving, he's like, whoa, I'm about to, drive off the road. He stops by and he parks his car. And as he gets out, before he gets out, he looks at a red box, and that plays a big part. But there was something here. So he's walking to the vending machine, and there's a woman sitting there and frozen in time because she's not moving. She's just there. And he walks over and he's like trying to get this candy bar. He puts money in, it doesn't come out. And that's when the woman comes over and she puts the paper down. Now I noticed there were 6 papers there, and then including the one she put was 7. So I was thinking that she was frozen there or stopped mid whatever she was doing 6 different times, and so she had made probably a conversation with someone 6 different times, so it makes Wes number 7 when she puts the paper down. So I was thinking, okay, so Wes is not the only guy that been there. That's what I was assuming. but everybody could come up with their own theories. But that's
now I gotta go write 6 more movies. What did you just do to me?
But that's what I was thinking. Like, I was counting. I even paused. I was like, why is there 7? Why is she stuck in mid trying to put sugar or whatever? And then she triggers when he couldn't get in there. And then I was like, wait a minute. He's number 7. So could he have been the 7th person that got stuck in the bathroom? I don't know, but it looks like that because as she was leaving, you see like this slime stuff and she's like looking at it like it's normal. And then she knew what was in his car. So so I feel like she was part of that universe that kind of brings him. I don't know. That I kind of felt that. That'd be cool if that was, but.
See, what we're gonna do is we gotta go build and do another scene work where he puts other bodies of people who wouldn't get what they needed.
Yeah, you didn't watch the post-credit scene, did you? No, I'm just.
I'm like, hold on, let me go look.
We had Captain America show up. You didn't see that?
But that's the feeling that was something I caught on, not saying it was, part of what was in the script, but it was just felt like this happened 6 times before when she was caught up. I don't know.
There's that's one way to look at it, but I do know that was Dave's way of saying that the universe is lining up, that everything's lining up. That with the sugar packets, why she was so careful to place that in that spot was the universe was aligning at that current moment.
He did say that this was fate. This was like you're destined to be there. I guess I was looking too much into it. But it does look like that. I mean,
that's a great idea.
I mean, I don't know if it was intentional, but I was like,
yes.
Oh, that would be.
We're going with it now. That's our story now. Yes.
There's 6 other bodies somewhere in that bathroom.
Yep. We're on it.
The part, I mean, like I said, this film completely threw you off. Like you were in left field, down the street, around the corner, in a whole nother planet. I really didn't like how he was like looking at the red box, he was like, this man, something horrible happened into this relationship, and he was just like, his way of coping and dealing with it. And you could just see him fighting it, and you think, oh, he's brokenhearted. But I think in his way, he was brokenhearted, because then that goes back to, I thought you were different. He kept telling her that. And I was just like, what does that mean? Oh my gosh. So the character Wes, he was really good of conveying just anger and guilt. Oh my God, he felt so guilty. How was that dealing, writing that character and trying to convey fear, guilt, without giving away so much anger? Because you could see the anger, but you wanted to see more guilt, and you got that. So is that something he convey? He did pretty well.
Yeah, I would say a lot of. I think you're giving a lot of credit to the script, but I think a lot of that is Ryan. But there was a lot of that struggle is on the page that he's going through, because that's just human emotion that any of us have gone through. This hurt, this regret, all heartbreak, all that sort of thing. But really, a lot of that, it's just. Ryan's just a super talented actor. Like if you see him in anything, he's incredible. And Jay and Chris can talk more about that. But some of that was on the page, but a lot of it was just Ryan bringing that character to life in a way we never saw. I think
the cool thing was, because we knew when we were shooting this movie, we'd have to kind of do it in chronological order. And so you're able to really be in that character. It's not like you're jumping from like page 1 to page 80 and all this stuff. He was able to build and be in that pain emotionally, literally chronologically, until the very end of that movie. And so that definitely helped this character with what he's going through, because once bodies explode and there's paint on the walls, blood on the walls, you can't go back. So we had to get everything we needed chronologically. And so I think for Ryan, it was easier for him to stay in character without having to jump through those emotions, going from guilt to what actually does happen in the story. So I think that was helpful.
Okay, so he gets into the bathroom, throwing up his life in there, puts the picture of the girl, his girlfriend or ex, we're still not sure, in his pocket, and he's just letting it loose. And then here comes Gat. Now, do you know what's so funny about that? Because the way he had him pronounce his name, like, you have to do this, you have to stick out your tongue and all this stuff. Who idea was that? Because it feels like you had to do it to say it, but how did you know how to do it to say the name correctly? I mean, that's pretty cool.
it was in there from the get-go. That bit was in there from the get-go, and a lot of that just comes from that Lovecraftian lore. A lot of people don't know how to pronounce these names, and I would be the first one to say, like writing that first draft of the script where there was a difference between saying his full name, where it just suddenly you started referring to him as Gat instead of like going the full way every single time, and then or just hit copy and pasting, right? But so it was, you would have to act that out to make sure the audience actually knew what his name was, that it wasn't just Gary in a stall, or not Gary, but like somebody in a stall. It was like you had to really prove to the audience that this was either super wild or this is some wacko in this stall, but either way it's not some normal dude, and so that was part of the name game there. And then that was, it became, he's the god, he's whatever, a monster or whatever this thing is that he's saying he is to Wes at the time. And so you also had to put yourself in Wes's shoes to say, well, much like, why would he stay with this person? What would make him believe this person's name? And so that was, and again, the performance really nails that the comedy of that scene. I think
it really did, because when I was watching the screen, I was doing it. I was like, I was actually doing that, sitting there. I was like, got another one, but whatever.
Yeah, and I've gotten plenty of messages from people that said, my girlfriend or whatever was busted at work today because they were trying this thing, just in the middle of public, and people were like, "What are you doing?" And so, anyway.
Well, just that's also about the tone of the movie and the ridiculousness of it. Like, first of all, you're stuck in a bathroom with this guy, and then he's so excited to make you say his name. It's just a charming situation. Like,
he's a child.
Yeah, you've got to be able to believe that you're in this world. First of all, you're stuck in a bathroom anyway. But second of all, if you're going to be either with a crazy guy or with a god, you got to have fun with it. And that was always the hardest thing. We were talking to Rebecca about it. It's like tiptoeing between the horror, the comedy, the gore, because this isn't a Dale and Tucker versus Evil. This is cosmic horror comedy, and there really isn't anything like it out there. So we knew with Josh's script and with David and with Todd and everything, we knew we needed it to have an ebb and a flow, to treat it like it was a stage play. Because even Becca said it from day one, this is Waiting for Godot in the bathroom with a cosmic glory hole. And I think I feel really good about it. Rotten Tomatoes makes me feel pretty good about it. I feel like the scripts and the way that it's evolved with Josh's story and with the other writers, and it delivers on that promise. Because there's nothing worse than seeing a movie and you're like, yo, the trailer isn't what this movie was, or I was hoping to see a Cosmic Glory Hole movie, and we don't have like butt cheeks, and we don't have we didn't go like what you would fully expect with a Johnson being ripped off and thrown off. I think Rebecca and David, I love how Josh is just sitting there laughing, but it's we wanted to go the high road. We went the high road with the Glory Hole movie.
We had to be tasteful and elegant.
yeah, it's so funny.
I'm just gonna say "Got Another One" because I cannot say that name. Got Another One. God is a dark god with several names, and his father is Cthulhu, and he appeared out of the, I guess, Aaron's or whatever in the Cthulhu mythos series, The Weird Tales. So I was thinking it was just made up because I don't know much about Lovecraft, just a few things. when I have to. So I thought it was like, man, they really made up this name until I looked it up, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, we were doing a legal. We wanted to make sure we were good. I remember that phone call, but that's the cool thing. It's really, and you'll learn later with Wes's character, you really learn a lot about it. It's a story about fathers and sons, and that mythos, and with human and also like the cosmic elements, very similar. You could always disappoint your dad is really one of the themes of this movie.
So, I really didn't even much know about cosmic horror until this movie. I've never heard of that term, and I've watched films that have some inspiration from Lovecraft, but this one I keep hearing it a lot. So I was like, what is that? So it makes sense, because when you're watching Wes, he's like in and out, like he's in his memories, he's screaming at him to get out, stay here. I mean, it's just like his thoughts, he's going back and forth. I mean, it's all kind of crazy. He's looking under the stall and something weird is like moving around in there. So it's like he's just laughing. So it's just like, okay, so
you go to the bathroom in public restrooms. Just another day for us.
I went into a public bathroom that looked like the bathroom that horrible things that's happened here. They're so gross, especially on the way to San Diego. I don't know if you ever been, Jay, to San Diego, and there's like some public bathrooms, and I went in there and I was terrified. But it's easier for a man. He can stand. He can just stand and let go. I have to squat or sit.
When we were prepping for this, we were like, I was driving to Arizona, and I remember sending Chris. It was like, I found like the creepiest bathroom where there were like literally like padlocks on the doors. I was like, we were just sending each other like from AMP and from Fallback. Like, we're all just sending pictures of like bathrooms, like of real places that we're going to. And I'm just like, it's crazy, because you're in that element. You are like the most like, I can't think of the right word, but it's just like,
you're naked.
Yeah, you're naked.
At least I am.
No. You don't have one of those cool zippers?
But okay, so cosmic is like an altered state of consciousness, and also into there was like this alienation of it, this inbreeding of people considered a different race. So if you add cosmic, altered state plus aliens, it's like cosmic horror. Which is really cool, I guess. Like, it is cool.
We think so, yeah. Yeah, we like that genre.
I feel like I didn't think of like cosmic horror until I didn't hear that phrase until like Daniel Isn't Real. Like, that was like the first time I heard someone kind of put those words together.
Like color out of space, like color.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, it's now become such a cool subgenre within horror that everyone's like, oh, I read probably like 3 cosmic horror movies a week, scripts that I'm getting sent. It's just
wow. Okay, the master of cosmic horror. Okay.
My inbox is, at least.
The next one, Jay, I'm just sending you. It's about a guy who eats the last cosmic brownie in a little Debbie box, and like that's it. It's just cosmic horror.
I love it. He's lactose intolerant.
Yeah. Should he not? Put it back.
Okay, that's stories too.
Call us, Shudder. Call us.
So we obviously meet Gats, or got another one, however you put it, and then that's when you really hear J.K. Simmons' voice, and he was kind of sexy in there. I was like, oh, I want to see, but you can't see, because I was like, okay, why can't you look at him? Why can't you look at him? Like, he was really don't look at me, and like, rah, and like all these amazing things. Then I had to look it up, because I was like, okay, why can't? So here it says that Lovecraft usually do a lot of his main characters where the mind deteriorates when it affords a glimpse of what exists outside of perceived reality. So every time he tried to, it was like he cannot look, because his mind is not capable of absorbing what Gat really is. And it makes sense because he would have to face the part of him that he was avoiding, that guilt and anger he was just really pushing in that bathroom. And he couldn't leave. He could not leave that bathroom until he gives up what he needs to give up for the fate of the universe. And I thought what everybody thought was every time I looked at, well, okay, I'm gonna be honest here. When I saw that Glory hole, I was like, he's gonna have to put his penis in there. And really,
is that what you do with those? I don't know.
Well, you know what? I've never been in a bathroom with a hole in it. I've seen movies. I thought his penis was gonna have to go in here. He was gonna have to shoot one, like straight up. Like that's. I think a lot of people thought that.
Anton Chekhov is the one that introduced the idea that if you introduce like a gun in the first act of a play, it's gonna have to go off in the third act. And so we always knew that we always had this visual joke throughout the movie about this glory hole. Something's got to happen with it. So at some point, it had to have like some sort of payoff.
Yeah. There was somebody at the LA screening who would just not stop laughing at like when they thought they knew it was gonna. Do you guys remember that at the LA screening when somebody was just cackling the entire time throughout that entire like? But I think that's it. Goes back to what Jay said earlier, where like you hear glory hole movie and you go at you know what you're gonna get in that movie. But I think that's what works so well about like that's what was the original script, right? Like it's exactly what you think it is, and I think that's just a testament to like the what the team brought to this table to change it from expectations and to really throw people off of that sense, and it works so well.
I'm going to say this: it would have either been like spending $200 on a I guess practical penis versus then ending the world.
They're actually $200. They're $250, Jay.
Well, as soon as that said, the universe has a favor to ask. You're like, are you gonna do it, Wes? Are we gonna see that?
There was something magical at being at Fantasia when we had our world premiere, because it's like the moment where Wes goes, "Okay, screw it, we're doing it. It's go time." That's when people were like standing up and clapping, going, "Yeah, we're gonna get to see this finally!" Like, people were so excited. There was so much excitement. And I'll even say this, like, after the movie, in the bathroom, I had to go pee and whatnot. People were talking to each other through the stall doors. Like, it was cool. It was just like, it was cool to see something like that had the potential to become a pop culture, element and whatnot. Because there isn't anything like this. And I think people were just really excited because you have that expectation in your head of what's going to happen. And we do tickle the rim of the glory hole with that idea, but then
you say like that,
sophisticated with it.
So to get a little bit serious here, because it did have some serious he's like,
yeah. Put on my straight face. Yeah. You just asked me to be serious.
It had just the equal amount of seriousness about it as well as comedy. It had a balance, which I do appreciate. But at the same time, when things start to unravel, it's quite sad. Like there was some like gut-wrenching and heartfelt things that was going on. The guilt he was feeling was not the normal guilt. Like if someone, he broke my heart or she broke my heart, driving off with their stuff, I hate their guts. It was the guilt of him doing something to someone that he probably at one point did love and thought she was different, meaning the difference is not that she was a different person to make him happy. It was different that what he usually was doing, that's why he was looking at those women at the party, because he was some kind of serial killer.
Yeah.
And he was scoping them out, and Brenda had no idea what that was. And so she just thought it was just this guy who was like out of his league, and look at me, I don't have blonde hair and all this stuff. And they had a relationship for a couple of months, and his different was that maybe she would be the one that turned his life around, change who he was. But you can't do that, because you are what you are. Unless you're willing to change, you can't have someone else do that. When she found that red box, and that's what was so important about it, because in there was his past and probably what he was going to do. And it frightened her, and there was no other way for him to get out of it was to let her go. And the guilt of killing her was eating him away in that bathroom. And that's where Gat came in. Like, you have to release yourself, and it's not what you think. You stabbed her. I need what you destroyed. And it was just like, damn, like this entire time he was fighting himself. That guilt of, and sometimes you have to see, someone has to show you what you've fucked up, and now you're on that side of the field, and he couldn't handle it. He was just like, oh, no, I'm not going to do this. Once he realized it wasn't his penis he needed. Yeah. It was his liver. It was part of it that killed Brenda. He needed just enough of what he did. And that, as much comedy is in this, it was just as sad. And I felt so bad for Brenda.
Yeah.
And you just grew to not like Wes. Like in the beginning, you're like, oh man, he's in this bathroom, something weird is talking to him, this is funny. And then when it plays out, you're like, man, forget that dude.
Well, see, it's just like, it's why the same reason why you don't talk to people through glory holes is you just don't talk to strangers at picnics. See, just let there be lessons. Or backyard barbecues, whatever it was, like you just, if Brenda would have just minded her own business, she would have been fine.
Yeah.
The cosmic context. Like if we didn't have that, like I don't think there's that moment where Wes's character he cries, and it is so real, it is so honest, and I don't think if he never met Gat, he would just gone about killing more people. Gat was that cosmic conscience that made him realize she was different. I could have been happy, but I fucked it up.
Exactly. Even though they were having that conversation in that bathroom, I think Wes really needed to see something that will make him believe what Gat was saying. Because, like you say, they can have a conversation, but then, okay, is this real? Do I have to do this? But once Gary came up in there, it got
it's
mad.
It's like the old saying goes, you can show somebody a tentacle or two, but if it's a body, then that's too much.
And you could see how Wes cowered. He was on the toilet. He was just sitting there just like, okay, I have to do this. There's no other way for me to leave this. And that's why I really like when he was like, what do I need to do to end this nightmare? And that is when Gat was like, it is this. I've been telling you, you have to do this to end it. But really it was to end him. You're this evil in this world that don't belong here. I am this evil in this world that doesn't belong here. We both need to go away. And the only way to do that is to do what I tell you. And I need that damn liver. It was just like, damn, the comedy
you gotta build up to that. You just can't walk into a bathroom, pop a squat and be like, yo, dude, I need some liver. Expectation. You got to build up to this, to Wes's character really evaluating himself and being in a psychological, almost like a, sitting down with a therapist for, this long to really break himself down, to say that you can, a part of you that could regenerate gives life to the world. And if you're not willing to do that, everyone's going to die. In addition to all the terrible things that you've done. It's really a great game of chess these two are playing the entire time.
It flips the story. Like Wes tells the story of his dad and what he you know, what he did to his mom. He tortured her and you know, and mentally and whatnot. And to me, it shows repeated abuse behavior. It was learned behavior towards women. So I thought that played a really part. Like I've had to listen to you talk to me. I'm going to tell you why I'm like this. That's kind of where I was getting out of that. He had to tell him and get off his chest of what his dad was doing. And then some serial killers that I have read or something, that behavior that they came, you know, that they are, you know, towards women or whatnot is something they've learned or seen. There is a, you know, the father is abused, the mom's on drugs. I mean, it's all this stuff. So we kind of get a glimpse of his life as a child, what kind of made him into the man that he is today. But he still had a choice that God kept telling him, but you made your choice and your fate is here with me and you have to do this. So that goes back to like how sad. I mean, it was just like, geez, you're just laughing. It's sad. I mean, you kind of
the moment where Wes is talking about like, I'm sorry, what that really means. It means nothing to people.
Yeah, I think it's just that, you know, you everybody has a reason for their trauma or the trauma they caused, but at the end of the day, it's like nobody cares, you know, like that, especially if you're a guy like Wes, nobody cares. Even if you're a god, you know, people pray to gods, but even if you tell the god your truth, they still don't care, you know. And like that's the thing about it. It hits home with their interaction by the end is they just don't care, and Gad doesn't care because Wes is a monster.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I even wrote here where I said he was like, I thought she was perfect for me to change and not to kill her. I trusted her. Wes, and then I said, Wes blames Brenda for finding the truth. So he had no choice but to kill her. I was like, that's scandalous. That's so wrong.
Well, he doesn't learn anything. It never changes.
No. So, okay. I can, like I said, I can go on and on, but let me give you guys a chance to get in there. So developing this, Jay, Christian, Josh, like seeing this play out, what was the hardest part bringing this to life? I mean, I know it was kind of, you know, still the pandemic. We're not talking about that part.
I'm getting emotional at this one.
Yeah, like
before.
He's like getting emotional. No, like just understanding what the script was, what the story was going to play out, and what was the focus, and the whole big twist that people were going to finally see what he was struggling in the guilt. Like
for me, Ivotres, I'll
yeah.
say you and I, we chatted like 2 years ago in regards to State of the Attic. And you actually knew, I remember telling you about this project when I was going for a walk through Marine and Ray, saying, yeah, we're working on this project. It's really cool. I think you're going to love it if we're able to get it going. For me, this project came across my desk literally 2 days after the show I was working on shut down for the pandemic. I read 75 scripts looking for my next State of the Attic to make. And Josh sent me a different one. I love the writing. I said, what else do you have? He sent me this one. And then we became good friends. And I kept him and held his hand the entire time while we were doing this, because I'm a writer myself, you know this. And I'm a huge proponent believer of you work with people, you communicate with them, you stay loyal to them. And the entire time from, hey, Josh, this is going here. Hey, Rebecca just got attached. We just got one of the producers from We Summon the Darkness and Black Coat's daughter attached. And I was getting so excited because this movie, the script that I read in my head, and then to take it to Rebecca and David and to grow it with AMP and with Fallback Plan and to bring out all these creatives, it felt for me personally that I was going to be able to deliver that promise I had when he sent me that script, that we are going to make something awesome. And every time, like when we were like first day of shooting, I remember like 200 days since I got this script, very excited that, you know, I wish Josh was here for this. And it went all the way from that to post-production to us getting into Fantasia and to have, you know, Shudder taking it out. And for me personally, it felt like, and I say this with any project that I'm going to produce it, that I would spend $50 to see this movie at AMC. I would spend this movie money to see it in the theater. And when it was finished, And then Shudder got it, and all these reviews have been coming out. Rebecca killed it. Like, everybody who was involved on this project on all fronts, they gave 110%. I felt like I made myself whole by promising, we'll make your movie and we will do it with kid gloves, and you will be proud of this thing when it's done. And so for me personally, it was always, I never want to disappoint people. I don't want to disappoint a writer because I know what it's like to have your words rewritten by someone else and then put on the screen. And so for me, it was more about the loyalty and that friendship. And Christian has my back on this with every project. It's very important because making movies is going to war. Because if you're fighting for ideas, you're fighting for creative, and you've got other people who, you know, they're putting in their 2 cents. All you want to do is make the best project. That way you could hopefully do it again. Because it is hard to make movies, but it is so rewarding.
I think that was very well said, Jay, and thank you for the compliment to me in the middle of that.
You're all right. Yeah, you're all right, Jay.
I think the hardest thing, and this ties in really well with what Jay was just saying, the hardest thing for me, and this all bears out with the timeline that Jay just said, that, you know, Becca and I had a conversation because we're 2 weeks into the pandemic, that there's a mandatory quarantine in Los Angeles, and which became like nationwide, and people couldn't really go out without masks, and it was just it was horrible, and the production pipeline was gone. Like, there's nothing. There's no work because everything was shutting down. And so, yeah, toilet paper shortages, and people were like spraying their mail, and nobody knew what was going on. It was very confusing, and you know, at the end of the day, we still have to figure out, like, well, how can we still make art? How can we still do stuff? How can we still work? Because we're not like a visual artist can, like, you know, like paint on an easel and produce something, and there it is. It's, you know, one person makes this one thing, and it's now in the world. Film is such a collaborative medium and involves a lot of people to do it. So the question is, how do you do that safely? And so Becca and I had a conversation before Jay sent us the script, and we said, okay, what we need to focus on, if it's something you and Dave write, or if it's something we're looking for to produce, like ourselves or whatnot, it needs to have 5 points. It has to meet all 5 criteria. Has to have as few locations as possible. Has to have as small a cast as possible, preferably one, or, well, we didn't even think we could find one with 1, but preferably with just 2 people. It needs to be a very manageable budget, because we knew we were going to, we need to do this safely for the crew, for the cast, for everybody. That's going to have a significant cost in COVID. So we also need to have as small a production footprint as possible. And then the last thing, and might have been the hardest of all those, that fit all 4 of those, but then it also had to be good, you know? And so I wasn't sure what we were going to do. And then Jay sent that script over to Becca. Becca said, I might have something that's really, really cool. You should read it. I read it, and I was I was floored, because I was it hit every single point. And what's even better is, since you have 2 characters in the space, but one is never seen, we realized we just need 1 actor. And then we can get this way with a small crew, and we hit everything. And it was really cool, and dealt with cosmic horror, which is kind of in a zeitgeist right now, which is really kind of cool. So I was all in, but then also at the end of the day, and this becomes the second hardest part of it for me, I had asked Becca's do you really want to make a glory hole movie? Because it's not going to be easy. You know, I mean, everybody we pitched this to for financing or for cast or anything like that, we're going to have to lead with well, there's a glory hole, see, and see if there's...
Glory hole is really a character. Beautiful art fight.
But see, this proves that with, if you're innovative and you are dedicated in what you want to do, and you could make something like this, it doesn't have to be, 20 actors or whatever, and it still could be really good. I mean, that's the thing. It was a team effort. You could tell the love in there. You just feel everyone had each other's backs. We need more films like this.
Now, I'll touch on what Jay and Chris said. It just, for myself personally, we spent probably, we spent a good 5 years trying to make this movie, and 2016 to 2020 was Todd and I trying to make this movie, and it fell apart so many times. And, and there's a lot of backstory to why and what happened, and all that leads to 2020, March of 2020, where you think and if it's bad for Chris and Jay in LA, it's me here in Indy. There's nothing happening. There's and so it's really just taking a shot, and like he said, I sent a different script to him. He liked it, and then it was luckily we just had this project that I wasn't going to be able to do anything with. At that point, it had kind of hit its expiration date with me personally, just because there was too much baggage with that story, for me personally. And so when Jay was like, I think I have a friend, that friend being Rebecca, would kill this, and it was just, it was so easy. And I was just like, because I was a fan of Jay, I was a fan of Rebecca, I was a fan of Chris. All those were the first three people that came on board. And it was just like, it was a no-brainer at that point. The only thing I had to do was talk to Todd and say, hey, Todd, this is who wants to make this movie right now. And Todd goes, yep, let's let him go make this movie. And it's March 2020. And suddenly, while it's not, a lot of bad shit happened in the world, still happened in the world. But in that moment in March of that year, it was like, whoa, something cool might be happening. And it might, and something cool did happen. And we went a whole 2 years of production where I didn't meet any of these people, but I trusted them wholeheartedly to bring this thing to life. And I still I still love all these people. Like I like when we did the tweet along with Shudder, it was like the coolest thing in the world, because it was just everybody converging together for the first time to talk about this insane, incredible movie that we all made together over a course of like a really bad time for the world. But it was a really good time for this group of people that came together and made something special. And that's all, it all starts with Jay getting that script and liking that script. I'm not saying it all starts with me, because it starts with a team of people that believed in this idea that they could transform that into what it is today. And so I'm forever like grateful and indebted to like this entire team of people who believed in it. So
it was all about taking chances. I think we all took chances with safety, with a premise that could either alienate our audience or bring them in. But I think the horror genre, as we all know, with horror fans, they're looking for movies kind of like The Color Out of Space and The Mandy's, and I know we have been compared with that color palette and whatnot too. Folks were yearning for something different but similar, and I know Rebecca's use of turning this more or less, like we say, like a stage play. We were able to do that. We were able to make a choreographed dance with Dave Matthews and the entire camera department to make a movie in a bathroom that was visually appealing. And so a lot of this went with trust, because we, like, Josh was going to do it. We were talking about doing this in like a garage to make this movie back in the day. It's like whatever it takes, because a lot of people, they saw the value in the story and in what's going on. And whether you're in a bathroom or it puts you in a freaking, I don't know, bank vault, and you're dealing with this. It's really a story about the human journey and what people go through. And I think that's what people see. When people were expecting just a dude putting his dick in a hole, at that point, when you're doing that, all people are expecting is just that, with no added value to it. But to tell that story and to have those visuals and to have the artwork, like the beauty of the artwork that goes into this movie, with that, I think people were really excited. And it's because, truthfully, and I say this movie wouldn't have been made if Josh didn't take a chance and shoot me the script. And like Chris said, we went to a lot of production companies who came back and said, yo, we fucked up. We should have made that. What else you got? It's almost like, a drug dealer, like, what else you got, man? It's really, really, But that's because we wanted to make something unique. Mm-hmm. There are a handful of pandemic movies come out where it's Zoom-based or single location and there's a pandemic going on. It's like, if this movie came out pre-pandemic, I would be excited as hell to see it. Post-pandemic, whenever. I know we'll say that it's a pandemic movie because we did it with minimal location, minimal actors. We did all of our post essentially via online. I know Rebecca was with our editor, Joe, who did Mortuary Collection. They were working in-house, but we were trying to keep it as small as possible. And so it proves, and like I work in reality TV doing Life Below Zero. I haven't met my entire team at all. I've been doing this for a year and a half. It shows you that if creatives come together, even with just the internet and whatnot, and you know, it was a small footprint when we were in Mississippi. You're able to do great things.
Because it was at what was it Fantasia?
That's Fantasia.
Okay, Fantasia, and Shudder was like, okay, I can see where this is going. Give it here.
We were working with them and Barbara Crampton and with International. We all came together. We actually had this movie sold to Shudder before we got into Fantasia. They were invested the moment we had J.K. Simmons, and I love Shudder. They've got my first movie on there. They've got multiple projects from Becca's on there. Are any of yours on there, Chris?
Not just yet.
Soon, hopefully.
Not yet.
Hopefully.
No, he gets theatrical. Big theatrical man right there. But
just the glory hole one. No.
But I think we all knew that this was going to be a Shudder project based on that they take chances with projects like this. We knew that it was going to be small, and we knew that there wasn't anything out like this being pitched. And so you throw on an Academy Award winner, and then you've got Ryan Quanten. You know, we did some magic there, and I'm beyond proud of this movie. And I think Shudder, you know, they let us know that they love the premise from the start. They love the lookbook. They loved where we were going. Having Barbara Crampton as an executive producer on this, that got them excited. And it was a lot of pieces that just kind of came together. Like Attic at that point was one of the most watched movies the previous year. It was all these people working in the horror genre that knew each other, and we were going to use these kid gloves to make this movie that transcended what expectation was. I've got a question for you because I like asking questions because that's what I do.
Me?
Yeah, for you.
Me? Me? Oh, okay.
You. The other two are probably like,
he wants to. You're going to ask me what the concept is
because we knew what the audience was expecting. Were you pleased with the ending? Or were you expecting, oh man, this guy's gonna put his dick in the hole and it's gonna bite it off, it's gonna be the end of it? Because I always get curious about it because people have those expectations. You say there's a glory hole movie, at that point, my PG, rated R, Bloodhound Gang, you know, fart joke, you know, brain goes, someone's gonna put their dick in the hole and that'll be it.
Okay, so I'm
the ending, because I'm just curious.
The ending. So my thought was when I saw Glorious and the premise, or whatnot, or what the rumors were, whatever. I knew it wasn't
water cooler talk.
I know, right? Oh man, this glory hole movie. Even though it was some kind of glory hole, I knew it couldn't been that. I knew it could not be somebody putting something in a hole. Well, his generals or whatever. It just couldn't be. That was too obvious. Because what I do is look within the films, and working with, you know, when I interviewed you before, Jay, and the Attic, and that was telling us, you know, you thought it was one way and it was a whole lot in there. I knew, I was like, okay. So as it rolled out, as it played out, and you realized what it was, and then the ending, I was satisfied with the ending because he needed to go. I love the way it played out. I love how the ending really showed, who he was and why he had to go. And I even wrote down here when Gat was like, we are beings of pure destruction. You and I don't deserve to be in this beautiful world. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get emotional in movies because I really think about it. It's so sad that Wes was like that, and he destroyed a woman's life for his own personal pleasure, whatever he was into, and she trusted him. And I love the way it played out. Like when everything cleared up and he just thought, and he thought he won. See, Wes thought he won in some way, but no. When he sacrificed himself, it was like, you will be forgotten. You do not need to be here. This is the end for you. You know, there's no smiles. There's no live on. No one gives a damn about you. You are worthless now. Go. It was just like, you need to go away, just like me, because we are pure destruction. And he did. And he crawled out there and he tried to hold on of what he could for whatever memory he had left. But no, you were out. And so he went down and looked at the world he no longer was going to be in. That is a great, fantastic ending to something that just left you like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, oh, like you were satisfied. It was like victory.
Well, I think that's the brilliance of Rebecca directing it, is it does offer that commentary at the end of we don't need men like you anymore. Like we don't, it's a powerful statement, and there's a few in there that she brings to the table that are just, they would hit harder. They wouldn't hit as hard with somebody else directing, but there's a nice commentary that she can put on there, that works perfectly.
She knows philosophy, she knows horror. If anybody could fuse those two together.
It was a very masculine movie with very feminine, sensitive qualities about it. When it flipped back and forth with Brenda, and then you see kind of the breakdown with Wes, that's what I really, really did enjoy. It wasn't just this harsh thing that was just coming at you and comedy and, haha, two men, in there talking. No, there was some really deep, profound moments where it was just like, this is a jerk. He does not belong here. And we got that, and it was satisfying. That was pretty good. You guys did a great job.
Male director. From day one, we said we want a female director for this movie, because at that point you could have that sensitivity without it being like, me, myself, Irene, glory hole horror comedy. Like, we wanted that sensitivity to it because it is, emasculating. You need that perspective.
This was good. I can't wait to see what else you guys put out there. Great writing, Josh.
Thank you so much. Credit to Dave and Todd.
I thought it was just, don't look in the hole was the whole thing. Just don't look in the hole.
Yeah.
Jay, you got a good eye.
I got a great team of people. That's the most important thing. You surround yourself with people that make you better.
Yeah. When that script got in your hand and you talked to Christian, I mean, you had something. Sometimes it takes a push to show, look what I have, and you guys worked on it. And Rebecca was amazing as a director. She's good. I've seen her anthologies. She's good. And when I saw her, I was like, okay, we got something here. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this. This was amazing. This was fun. Is there anything else you want to add about the movie that people may not know? Because I know you guys have been doing interviews and screenings and talking and everything, but is there something that, this is something that we haven't said or forgot to say? No? Said everything?
Just keep watching.
Yeah, it is streaming on Shudder.
Only on Shudder right now. We'll be doing a physical release soon, which is exciting. So you get your Blu-ray glory hole movies. Hopefully we'll have some cool.
Are there going to be any behind the scenes or anything on there?
There's some BTS on there. I got to talk to the other production companies and see what the scoop is. I know we're doing it internationally too, so there'll be different artwork and different fun things going on. I just got to say real quick, just, thanks for having all of us. Thanks for bringing us back on again. I just want to give major props to the entire cast, crew, investors, anybody who was associated with this movie, because we went through, just people watching rough cuts without effects and stuff like this. Like, to go from ending physical production 1 year later to be releasing, it was a fast turnaround. And a lot of great people came together. We were very fortunate to have a lot of people within the genre, whether it's like, from Travis Stevens and so forth, watching this movie, making sure that, we did it justice. And I'm beyond proud of it. I'm so excited to see what happens for the cast, for the crew, for Josh with his writing, for Christian. And, we're just lucky that it's being so well received. So thank you for having us. It means a ton, seriously.
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys sit tight for a second. Thank you everyone out there for watching. If you want more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and watch Glorious. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. It is streaming right now on Shudder, and like you said, it would be a hard copy, so you can own it in your house, in your collection.
Do TikToks. Go to the bathroom. Make people uncomfortable.
And I actually did a TikTok about this when the next day when I saw it on screening. I gave my thoughts.
Oh wow, I need to see that.
This movie #sequel, please.
Well, like I said, thank you so much, you guys. You guys are amazing, talented, and I can't wait to see more projects out there coming from you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye everybody.
Bye.